Does Pitocin really have to be the excruciating, terrible, painful experience that most people describe it as? I don't actually think that's the truth. And as somebody who has experienced having a labor with Pitocin, which is indeed terrible, it actually doesn't have to be that way if you understand the options that you have with using Pitocin for medical reasons in your labor. In this video, I want to share 3 things that you probably did not know that you could do if you needed to use Pitocin to still manage labor, to still make it more comfortable, controllable, and hopefully reduce your baby's risk of actually experiencing fetal distress because of the intensity that Pitocin can bring on your body. Hey mama, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chanel. I am a doula. I am a mama of 3. I am a wife, and I just love helping families go from a place of feeling very overwhelmed, scared, anxious, to feeling prepared and excited and confident, and understanding all of their rights and options to really be able to write their own birth story. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure to hit the subscribe button below so that you know exactly when all of my videos come out, so that you can be prepared not only for birth, but for your postpartum journey as well. All right, so we're gonna jump right into this video because the word Pitocin scares so many people. And to give you a little bit of context and background why I can talk about this, not only from a doula's lens, but also from a personal experienced lens, I have had 3 very different birth experiences. My first birth was a hospital birth that was intended to be an unmedicated natural birth, but ended up starting off as an induced labor because my water broke while I was at work. I was not having contractions, and then my provider sent me straight to the hospital to get induced because my labor was not indeed started at that point, but my water had broken. If you've seen any of my other videos, you will know why I would have not listened to that advice and not gone to the hospital. But for the sake of this video, I did, and they started me off with Pitocin right away, and I had no idea what that was. I just was excited to have a baby, so I was like, yeah, let's get this thing going. And what I can say from that experience is that it was not enjoyable. It was painful. I did not know how to manage it, and yes, Pitocin was terrible. Fast forward to my second and third birth experiences, I decided to go out of hospital with a midwife and hire a doula so that I knew all of my options, all of my rights, and so I could really put myself in the best possible situation to have an unmedicated birth. And I did. I was so prepared. My husband was so prepared. I was confident in my body. I learned all the things that I needed to know to really understand how to actually go throughout this birthing process, what my options were, what my rights were, how to labor smarter and not harder. And I had my first VBAC in a birth center, and then I had my third baby at home. And my son was actually born in our driveway. And I'm sharing all these things to say that labor on Pitocin is 10 times harder, at least in my experience, than an unmedicated labor. Now, the reason I'm actually making this video is because when I say that my labor was 10 times harder with Pitocin, it was not because Pitocin was introduced. It was because I did not know how to manage contractions, and I also didn't know my options and rights when it came to Pitocin so that I could stay in control of how my labor experience went. I just went along with whatever the protocols were in the hospital at that time, and that was what made it so intense so quickly and made it really, really challenging to actually labor unmedicated. And I did end up obviously getting a C-section, which meant I got an epidural and all those things. I have a whole video on this whole story on my channel that you can watch, but I have been able to help clients who have had medical reasons to be induced in using Pitocin or needing Pitocin for medical reasons in labor to help labor progress. And they've still been able to have unmedicated, controlled, and manageable births. And it's because of the 3 things that I'm going to share in this video that they were able to do that. So stay tuned to the end so that you can have all of the notes that you need to actually have these conversations with your provider ahead of time to make sure that they know that you have options and rights, so that if it does happen to come up in labor, hopefully it doesn't, but if it does happen to come up in labor, that they're not surprised by you advocating for yourself. Okay, so when it comes to Pitocin, if you don't understand what Pitocin is used to help induce labor or help labor progress along. It is a synthetic oxytocin, which means that it forces your body to produce oxytocin to help labor progress. Your body produces natural forms of oxytocin because it is a hormone that our body produces naturally, and it's called the love hormone. And that is what helps labor move along. But sometimes our bodies need, for medical reasons, a form of synthetic oxytocin to help manage the labor process. And for some women, Pitocin is a medically necessary decision and option for them, either because of medical reasons that require them to be induced, or maybe they're just not progressing and it's been 8-12 hours and we've exhausted all of our options, and now we need something that's going to help us aid in still allowing us to have a vaginal birth. So it's not the end of the world if you get Pitocin. It does not mean that you're automatically going to have a C-section. It does increase the risk, but it doesn't automatically mean that you're going to have a C-section. It is important to understand that because labor can become so much more intense so quickly, and it can start to feel like we are out of control of our body, of our experiences, of our sensations in labor, that you understand how to navigate and manage Pitocin. So the first thing that you need to understand when it comes to Pitocin is that you have the right to control how quickly or slowly you increase your Pitocin levels. A lot of times in hospitals, when you get Pitocin, they will say, we're gonna start you at the lowest unit, which is about 2 units, and we're just gonna let your body get going there. And in about 15 minutes, we're gonna come back in and we're gonna go up 2 more units. Y'all, Pitocin goes up pretty quickly and it can intensify on your body pretty quickly. And a lot of times we think because we're starting at the lowest unit and we don't feel anything, we're like, yeah, go up. I'm not feeling that much. Go up. That's not that strong. Go up. But then you're up, 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 up. And mind you, this might only be an hour and a half's worth of time. With regular oxytocin or natural, your body's natural oxytocin, it's a gradual increase. It gets stronger. A couple hours goes by, it gets a little bit stronger. Couple hours goes by, it gets a little bit stronger. And for some women, yes, that process does seem to be a little bit faster or quicker for some women. But for a lot of us, it's just a slow, gradual increase. So your body gets used to the intensity and the strength of the contractions over time. So it becomes a lot more easy to manage those contractions. But when it comes to Pitocin, you're going from 0 to 100 like real quick. And so when you're going up 2 units every 15 minutes, yeah, your body might not feel it right now, but in an hour and a half, it may feel like a level 8 in terms of intensity on a scale of 10. So it is important to understand that you don't have to go up that quickly. And I've helped a lot of my clients who have had inductions with Pitocin say, hey, we're not going to go up every 15 minutes. We're going to go up every 30 or 45 minutes. And I'm going to control when I feel ready to move up in intensity in the level or units that are being offered to me when it comes to Pitocin. So the first thing you need to understand is that you control when and how much you increase units when you have Pitocin. And just because that's not offered to you as an option, just because somebody may really strongly encourage you to increase so that things can progress along, if you feel like you're at a place where maybe you're at 6 units or 8 units and it is feeling pretty strong for you, you can stop there. You do not have to go to 10, 12, 14, 16, or however high somebody is trying to push you to go. If you feel like, okay, right now I'm working to manage this intensity and I'm not ready to go up, if you need to sit there for a couple of hours at 8 units, do that. I've had plenty of clients who've needed Pitocin, again, for medical reasons, because we don't use Pitocin without a medically necessary reason to do it. They did not go past 8. And they were able to use 8 in the strength of 8, along with their body's oxytocin that eventually started to pick itself up and help this process along. They stayed at 8 and had a vaginal birth, an unmedicated birth that was strong and intense, because Pitocin is stronger in many situations than your body's natural form of oxytocin and how contractions go. But they were still able to manage it because they could understand what their body was feeling and if they were truly ready to move up. So understand that you have the option whether or not you want to move up or if you want to stop where you're at. The second thing that you need to understand when it comes to using Pitocin, on the same note that we were just talking about, is that you can stop and control it, is that you can actually decrease it. If you move up, let's say from 10 to 12, and you feel like this is really, 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 really hard, and I'm feeling like I want to get an epidural, or like I can't manage this, you have the right to say, I need to go down. 2 units, or I need to go down back to 8. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because the more intensity and strength you have going on in your body, the greater risk that your baby's going to experience fetal distress. You have to understand what's happening when contractions are going on in your body. And that can cause a lot of stress on the body and then on your baby, especially if it goes from 0 to 100 real quick. Think about yourself in this situation. If somebody is like forcefully pushing you to do something and you're like, hey, we just got here, and you're like pulling me into this situation that I'm not ready for. Just let me take my baby steps towards that. And with Pitocin, there's not really a lot of baby steps that are happening. And so sometimes that can put a lot of strain and shock on you, which in turn can also put that stress shock factor to your baby as well. And that's where sometimes we tend to see when Pitocin is introduced, your baby's heart rate starts to dip, because naturally we understand that that's a lot of pressure and strength and intensity on your baby super, super fast. And that's not what would happen in most cases with your body's natural oxytocin in the labor process. So if you do feel like it is too intense for you, you have the right to ask your nurses to turn it down. If you need to turn it down, turn it down. There is no rush in labor. Labor is a marathon, not a sprint. I understand you don't want to be in labor forever, but I also want you to keep in mind that this is a process. This is a marathon, and marathons are not done by people who sprint. They find a pace and they stick with it, and that's what you need to do here too. Do not try to force your body to be in labor less time than it needs. That's when this whole cascade of interventions happens, and fetal distress happens, and more interventions are introduced, and then your risk of a C-section is increased with every single intervention that is introduced. So take your time. If you need to stop the Pitocin, stop it where you're at. If you need to turn it down, turn it down. You have the right to do that. The third thing you need to know about Pitocin is that you can take a pit break, and that means you can turn it off. That means if you feel like I need a break so that I can do this thing unmedicated the way that I want to do it, you can ask them to turn it off. We can stop it, we can turn it down, and we can turn it off, because we have the right to do that. We do not have to force our bodies to do something that it's clearly communicating to us is too much for us in that moment. Take a break. These are called pit breaks. If you need to take a break, you know yourself well enough to where if you can keep yourself at that level and manage it for a period of time, do that. But if you need to turn it off, turn it off. Sometimes that might allow you to take a nap. Sometimes that might allow you to just regather yourself and recenter yourself and then turn it on later. And sometimes you may turn it off and your body's natural oxytocin, because you have learned how to actually relax and calm yourself down, because obviously when you have something that's going on and it's super intense, your body's probably not super relaxed in that moment. And we want our body to be naturally relaxed, because that's also how our natural hormone of oxytocin can get produced on its own. And sometimes what you may realize, and for some of my clients this has happened, is that their labor actually continues to progress on its own because their body picks up from there. So there are so many things that can happen, but you won't know unless you try. So if you do feel like you need a break, you do have the right to take a pit break in labor, take a nap, get a shower, eat some food, do whatever it is that you need to do. And then when you're ready, as long as your baby is looking happy and all your vitals look good, turn it back on and slowly increase until you feel like this is where I need to stay for right now. And allow your body to do its job and see how progress happens. Now, with all of that being said, there are so many more things that go into this whole labor process, but if you do end up being in a situation where you need to be induced for a medical reason, then you understand that you have options and rights. And we're gonna exercise those options and rights, and you need to make sure your partner knows how to speak up for you and exercise these options and rights, because remember, mama, your job is to be in your birth zone. So yes, you're communicating, hey, I want it to stop here, hey, I want it to turn down, hey, I need to take a pit break. But you understand, hopefully, that in hospital settings, in many situations, you probably will get some pushback from that, because nobody probably is asking for the same thing that you're asking for on the floor at that same time, because most of the women who go into labor don't actually understand this. and don't know that they have rights and don't know how to exercise their rights because they don't know what their rights are. So make sure that your partner also watches this video. Make sure that you and your partner are getting educated for birth, because this is only one part of your labor experience and one thing that you need to be advocating for. There are so many other things that you deserve to understand and know your rights to, so that you can have a positive experience and allow it to be manageable, so that you want to do this thing again. Labor should not be something that you have to suffer through. It should not be something that is excruciating. It should not be something that is miserable. It should be something that is enjoyable and intimate between you and your partner and your doula if you decide to hire one. So make sure that you understand what you're walking into and how to navigate all of your options. If you need help with that, go ahead and click on the link below in my description. I will help you, support you. We will set up a free 45-minute call to really get a plan together for you and see if there's a way that I can support you through this journey. Whether or not that's me or somebody else, I want you to get prepared. And I know that if you do the things that you need to do to get prepared, you will absolutely have a beautiful birth and be able to really enjoy the experience of bringing life into this world. All right, y'all, so I hope that was helpful. If it was, make sure you hit that thumbs up button so that I understand and know that you like videos understanding how to exercise your rights and your options. And if you use this, let me know in the comments below. Let all the other women know how you exercise these rights and options so that it can encourage another mama to do the same. All right, y'all, that is it for me. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.